All right, everyone, let's get into it. Bryce Gelman here, as always, discussing New York sports, talking the New York Giants, of course, and that pathetic, putrid organization. And I'm going to be discussing the New York Yankees, who are playing some pretty solid baseball right now, and going into look at we already got a message from Justin Kingsley. What's up, Justin? What's going on? And thank you to everyone for joining today. Going to start with the Giants and then get to the Yankees a little bit later. Start with the bad, end with the good. One Giant Step coming out tomorrow morning with Sean Morash and myself. Going to be previewing the game against the Commanders this upcoming weekend, and going to be discussing essentially what I'm going to be discussing today, which is whether or not this could end up being Daniel Jones' last dance with the New York Giants. And to both of us, there is a high likelihood of that being the result, the end result of this upcoming game against the Commanders. If you look at what Daniel Jones has been in his career against the Commanders, he's 5-1-1. He's been really solid. It's the one team that he has their number. And of course, this is before this complete deterioration of his mindset, of his ability as a quarterback. So it begs the question of, has he lost it? And this Sunday against the Commanders, we will find out. Justin Kingsley says, here, you could see it on the screen. I'm glad I could put it up. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Drew Lock time or not yet. O-line was good, but D-line disappointing. Give us 3 keys to the game to go against the Commanders. Don't jump the gun here, Kingsley, all right? You're going to have to stick around for my 3 keys. But to address the idea that the defensive line was terrible, I mean, it's completely true. That was supposed to be the Giants' bread and butter, right? When you go out and trade for Brian Burns and get Justin Kingsley says, I'm at work, hurry up. You really want 3 keys? I'll give you 3 keys right now. It's the defensive line to figure it out. It's Daniel Jones, and it is stopping Jaden Daniels and his legs. Because if he runs all of the Giants, they will lose this game. All right, go back to work. But going off of what I was saying there about the defensive line, I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns were complete non-factors in that game against the Vikings, when everyone and their mothers were explaining that in order to win that game for the Giants, they needed to get to the quarterback. My dad says, Kingsley, stick to the canteen. That's actually pretty fun. That's one of the funniest things. One of the only funny things my dad has ever said. Thanks, Dad. But no, in all seriousness, and let's get back on topic here. The Giants did not do enough to get to Sam Darnold, to force incompletions. I forgot what the exact number was, but he started the game at least 10 for 10 on completions. He was picking apart the Giants. And when you have as bad of a secondary as the Giants do, you need to avoid easy completions because guys will be open. It's inevitability when you face the Giants with the secondary that they have. With Deontay Banks really being your only solid corner, Adoree Jackson is fresh off the couch, missed training camp, missed everything. Two young safeties, one rookie in Tyler Nubin, and then of course the nickel being Drew Phillips, who is also a rookie. I'm putting that up. There you go. That's it. There is a high likelihood the Giants go into this game against the Commanders and force a couple takeaways. If they want a chance to win this game, they're going to have to force takeaways. Jaden Daniels is a problem with his legs. He had a sub-50 quarterback rating in their last game in week 1. How do you stop him? You put a spy on him. You have one of your linebackers, whether it be Bobby Okereke, whoever else is going to play. Micah McFadden actually gets reps this week. One of these guys is going to have to stick on Jaden Daniels the entire game. Force him to stay in the pocket. Force him to make throws. Use the exact same scheme you use the same mindset that the Chiefs employed against the Ravens in the AFC Championship game last year, in which they essentially sat back and said, Lamar Jackson, throw the football. And guess what he did? He threw the football, didn't have much success. Make Jaden Daniels throw the football. You got to get to the quarterback as well. Because at some point, with as bad as the Giants secondary is, Jaden Daniels will start finding his groove as an NFL quarterback with his arm. That is a possibility that you cannot allow if you want to start this season 1-1 and not 0-2. If they lose against the Commanders, and I thought that week 1 had almost the same importance as week 2 does. If they lose week 2, it's like really over. It's not even just it's not a question of if, or it's not a question of when. It will already happen. It's more of a question of if right now. But if they lose this game, it's over. Like we could collectively signal the end for the Giants, and we could start discussing the quarterbacks will be at the top of the draft. Hopefully, Tommy DeVito or Drew Lock doesn't come in and win this team 5 or 6 games. It's another thing we talk about on One Giant Step. Check it out tomorrow morning when it releases wherever you get your podcasts and on the WFAN YouTube page. Brian Burns getting 1 pressure in week 1 is just unacceptable. It really is. When the Giants traded for Brian Burns and gave him the massive extension they did, I don't think they were expecting a game where he would have 1 pressure. I mean, it's really pathetic. And you know, you could kind of chalk that up as the Vikings O-line being good, or you could also look at the game film and see that Brian Burns just was not able to get much going. He's got that blow-by speed, was not able to blow by anyone. The one positive in the last game against the Vikings is Dexter Lawrence is probably the best defensive player in football. And I said this to Sean, and I was half kidding in the latest One Giant Step, of course, coming out tomorrow morning. I think Dexter Lawrence is one of the best players in football. I think he is. I think he's the best defensive player in football. I made the argument that he's the best player in football. He is a force to be reckoned with in the middle. He had like a 74% win rate. The next closest defensive tackle was like 30. The guy is dominant. At 6'4", 250 pounds, he is unbelievable. The Giants are wasting one of the best 2 players. I mean, they've, out of all the teams in the NFL, your best 2 players. The Giants' best 2 players stack up against any other team in the NFL in terms of importance for those guys to the team and their talent. And of course, that I'm talking about Andrew Thomas as the left tackle. Another week where he's graded at the highest on PFF in terms of pass blocking and run blocking and everything. He's unbelievable. And then, of course, with Dexter Lawrence in the middle on defense. How many other teams could say they have 2 players in the top 2 or 3 at their respective positions? Not many. And then you look back at who else the Giants have. Their offensive line is solid. Top 10 in blocking. I forgot the exact stat. Don't quote me on it. But it's like finally starting to come together for the offensive line. How many times has the Giants' Achilles heel been the offensive line and the offensive line only? And guess what, guys? They finally fixed it. Carmen Brasillo is an unbelievable hire. The addition of Jermaine Illuminor, Van Roten, and of course, Runyon have done wonders for this team and their offensive line. And yet you're still stuck with this absolute bum at quarterback. There's no position in any sport. Let's talk about every single sport out there, the 4 major sports at least in this country, where one position matters as much as the quarterback position matters in football. If you don't have a good quarterback, it is extremely hard to win. If you have a guy who's running into sacks, doesn't make the right read constantly, forces throws and doesn't throw it away, fumbles the ball, throws interceptions, you have 0 chance to win. Yes, you could win with a game manager. You could at least advance to the Super Bowl with a game manager. But the second you face up against a guy like Patrick Mahomes, a guy like Tom Brady in his prime, you're shit out of luck. You're screwed. The Giants, unfortunately, have a guy who, of course, is everything I just said. Makes the wrong read. Doesn't throw the ball away. Runs into sacks. That is who they have, objectively. So could this realistically be Daniel Jones' last dance with the New York Giants? Sean proposed this on our podcast. And I said, originally, I mean, I highly doubted it. And I still kind of do. But hearing his perspective, hearing his viewpoint, it makes total sense. If he does not perform well against the one team, specifically in the NFL, but more specifically in the NFC East, then yes, he could get benched at halftime. If he doesn't come out and have at least some success with the passing game. Doesn't have any success with the run game. Makes a few boneheaded mistakes. He could realistically be benched by halftime. I don't think that's far-fetched whatsoever. And it's like, if that does happen, then you throw Drew Lock in there. You throw Drew Lock to the fire. We saw how Drew Lock played against the Lions backups in week 1 of the preseason. We saw the pick, and then we saw him get hurt. It's not like the Giants have any better of an option than Daniel Jones in Drew Lock. And you'll see that very quickly. When Daniel Jones is benched at halftime, and you've got Giants fans left and right saying that the Giants have their savior. Here comes Drew Lock. He's going to win everything. And he's going to come in and he's going to look slightly better than Daniel Jones. And the Giants will still lose the game. I just don't know how many of us could continue to deal with terrible quarterback play. So I guarantee there are a lot of people out there that are fully okay with the idea of Daniel Jones getting benched at halftime, because I can't deal with it, and I know you can't deal with it as well. It is truly a joke that is who the Giants are stuck with at the quarterback position. And I'm sure deep down Brian Dable is looking for any excuse to bench him. That's why it made sense when Sean posed that idea of Daniel Jones getting benched and this being the last dance for Daniel Jones with the New York Giants. If he continues to play as poorly as he is, how could you justify playing him? This isn't the New York Yankees, where you've got 162 games. You don't make a decision like that, it won't come back to bite you in the ass as much as it will in football when you only have 17 games. And each decision week in and week out matters so much more than in a 162-game season. Brian Dable is looking for any excuse to bench Daniel Jones. And if he comes out and doesn't look like his usual self against the Commanders, that'll do it. That'll be it. This is the most important game, not including any of the playoff games that Daniel Jones played in 2022 of his career. It really is. If he does not perform well on Sunday, he is going to have trouble getting a starting role anywhere else. And it doesn't take a mad scientist and a genius to find that out, to figure that out. But if he comes out and throws a pick, throws 2 picks, looks just as bad as he did in week 1 against the Vikings, not only will he be benched at halftime, but there are going to be some teams that are kind of shying away from paying him $8, $9, $10 million to back a quarterback in the NFL. And what a fall from grace that would be. Winning an NFL playoff game against the Vikings, a team that a lot of people thought were a lot better than the New York Giants, not only on paper, record-wise, talent-wise, and he went out there and played almost a perfect game and played his way into $40+ million a year. That fairly was widely criticized. But what other option did the Giants have? They have an option now, and with the 2-year team option attached to the end of the deal, they have all the control in the world. Which is why I'm not as mad and angry still at them giving him that contract. It was a fluke season. It was. The Giants had an easy schedule. Brian Dable, for whatever reason, has completely fallen off from his aggressive decision making that at the time was his calling card that won them so many games. If they lost like people thought they were going to lose that season, think about who could be their quarterback right now. C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, all those really solid options. And of course, I'm not jumping the gun with Levis and Richardson. C.J. Stroud is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And the Giants, if they lost, like people thought they were going to lose, they could have had one of those quarterbacks. So you can't blame Brian Dable and Joe Schoen for giving Daniel Jones that contract, because what did they expect at that time? You just won a playoff game. You made it to the divisional round of the playoffs, got smacked by the Eagles. You knew you weren't near the Eagles level, but you also thought that you were a playoff contending team. That's why you paid Daniel Jones. So the question of if all goes to you know what, the Giants win 3, 4, 5 games a season, will Joe Schoen and Brian Dable get fired? My answer is no. Every GM, every head coach deserves the opportunity to select their own quarterback. Not their fault that they were left with the mess that Dave Gettleman left them with the extremely questionable decision to take Daniel Jones in the 2019 draft where he was taken. That was a Gettleman decision. Shane and Dable did not have many other options at quarterback there. Sure, they could have re-signed Tyrod Taylor. They could have went up $1 million more and took him away from the grasp of the Jets. They didn't do that. They have trust in Drew Lock. So we're gonna see what happens with Drew Lock. I think he'll get some minutes in this next game. Have any I don't even know. I'm so lost with this. Like it's one of the most frustrating things that I've had to deal with as a sports fan, because just when you thought we were out of mediocrity, Daniel Jones pulls us back in. CBW, what's going on, CBW? He says the Giants have owned the command skins the last few seasons. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, like they are. Daniel Jones is 5-1-1 against the Commanders. He does not have a winning record against any other team in the NFC East. You know that. Jones should have a night. No, I'm not getting into this. I'm not getting into this. And CBW also says JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix were there this past year. The Giants had the 6th pick. They weren't going to pull a 2019 and take one of those guys where they shouldn't have been taken. This is the difference between this front office as compared to Dave Gettleman and the other front office. And that's why I think that they deserve to stay on, even though the Evan Neal pick and the Kayvon Thibodeau pick are just not turning out well. They are objectively two. I mean, one of them is one of the biggest busts in Giants history. The other one, I don't love Kayvon Thibodeau. I just don't. I don't see the early first round talent with him. I see late first round, early second round. So they completely missed the ball on that, taking him at 5. And then, of course, the Evan Neal pick is, again, one of the worst picks in NFL history. I'm missing. It's awful. And his attitude is, I don't want to get into that. Let's move on. Let's move on from the Giants. Again, one Giant step coming out tomorrow morning with Sean Morash of WFAN, Evan and Tiki, and I. You can check that out wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check that out on the WFAN YouTube. Some great stuff coming. Got a 30-minute episode. I got to put together after this. I'm going to put it together, and then we're going to release it tomorrow morning. Let's move on to the Yankees here. And this huge series win they had against the Royals. Let me just read a stat for you. And you may have known this, you may not have, and there could be some truth to this. There could be some legitimacy to this, but Aaron Judge is cursed ever since he went on Paw Patrol. He went on Paw Patrol, had the home run derby in Paw Patrol. The kids probably loved it, young Yankee fans. Aaron Judge sits going on Paw Patrol, has a 196 batting average, a 72 WRC plus, 0 home runs, a 33% nearly strikeout percentage, and a negative 0.1 F4. It is one of the worst stretches of his entire career. Easily the worst stretch of this season, probably worse than the start of the season. He might be slipping out of it. He might not be. Who knows? The Yankees, over that stretch since Paw Patrol, are 7-8. They still have a lead in the division. Again, they had a massive win last night. Jazz Chisholm's walk-off hit, or walk-off whatever, infield single, I guess. Bobby Witt couldn't make the throw home. Where is this team at? Well, first off, and I've seen this a lot out there, the Aaron Judge's struggles right now, it's good that he's getting them out of the way. And you'd hope that this doesn't continue as a trend into the postseason. Because if it does, the Yankees have 0 chance. The Yankees, if they want to win a World Series, they need Aaron Judge to be Aaron Judge and then some. We're going to need a repeat of Alex Rodriguez in 2009. How good he was over that postseason. How many times, as much as a lot of people hate him, and as much as he is personally disliked, how many times he put the Yankees on his back. Matsui as well. Those are the only 2 reasons the Yankees won in 2009. Those 2 names. It's that important that you get 1, maybe 2 guys who are producing like they should be producing, of course, but producing on a Hall of Fame type level. And it's tough. It's difficult. The matchups are more difficult. Guys throw a lot harder, it feels like, in the postseason. Guys are just pumping gas. Teams just throwing. Oh, that guy throws 101 too. How is that possible? That's just how it is. We've seen Aaron Judge struggle time and time again against good pitching in the postseason. We saw how bad he was, how putrid he was in the Astros series in 2022. How terrible he was. So it's good. If this is the slump, it's good that he gets it out of the way now. We need to see Aaron Judge become Aaron Judge before the end of the regular season, or else there are going to be problems. And I will be on here signaling the end for the New York Yankees for yet another year. Juan Soto has not been much better. He had a massive home run last night. After he hit him, he fouled off a ball onto his foot, and you thought that it was over. You thought the season could be hanging in the balance with Juan Soto's health. He gets right back up, pimps a home run that gave the Yankees the 2-1 lead. They end up winning the game. Juan Soto hasn't been great either over this stretch. His OPS has dipped under 1,000, even after the home run. He went 1 for 5 last night. His batting average is under 300 now. The Yankees need these guys to produce. And it's a little scary that it's happening right now. I understand it's not the postseason yet, but that means they have to turn it back on. The Yankees got their massive series win against the Royals, who they could end up facing in the divisional round. Hopefully they don't face them in the wild card. That would be a disaster if the Yankees can't win the division with where they are right now. But there's another thing that I wanted to talk about, and it's Alex Verdugo and the fact that the Yankees refused to call up Jason Dominguez. They finally did. Maybe I was wrong about Alex Verdugo, because since August 23rd, Verdugo is hitless in only 2 of those 16 games since August 23rd. Maybe we were wrong about Alex Verdugo. Maybe since he switched his batting gloves, Alex Verdugo is back and the Yankees are going to be in good shape. Because if they have a guy like that at the bottom of the lineup who isn't playing every day, because Dominguez should be playing over him, because of the potential of Jason Dominguez, that could be a really good thing going into the postseason. It really could. And it excites me that Alex Verdugo is putting it together, that Rizzo is not a garbage can at first base and at the plate, that he's kind of hitting. You want to see Jason Dominguez put it together. You want to see him revert back to his success that he experienced last year when he got called up in those 9 games or the 8 games, whatever it was, that he was called up before he got hurt and needed Tommy John. All right, that'll do it for today's live stream. Not much to talk about the Yankees. I mean, again, as the stretch run continues, there'll be more and more videos from me. I lied about the thing I was going to put up behind me. I will have it up. I got like this thing from how am I supposed to do it? I got this thing over here. It's a picture of Madison Square Garden, like a canvas print, and it's going to look very good. It's going to look very nice. I will be putting that up next week. So apologies again for the blank wall behind me for the last 3 months. It's going to be fixed. Don't worry. But I appreciate everyone for tuning in as always, and I will speak to you all tomorrow on my YouTube channel. Check it out. Bryce Gelman. I don't even. Is there even a handle? It's just at Bryce Gelman. You can check it out on YouTube. But I appreciate it, everyone, again, and have a great day.